Hello, my name is Patrick Calley, and it's an absolute privilege to have been invited to be part of the Elevate Our Everyday Heroes program. I am a retired police chief. I served over 30 years for the Ada County Sheriff's Office, and prior to that I served as a combat medic in the United States Army Reserves. Through my law enforcement career and through my military career and throughout my life, I've been blessed with great teachers, coaches, supervisors, sergeants, inspirations. So many great lessons have been given to me. And in the quest of making the first responder the most noble career in all of the world, I will always fall back on that idea of teaching, that principle of coaching, and that drive to share knowledge with somebody else. When the Elevate program invited me to speak, I started to think, what's the story I want to tell? What's the background piece I want to give? And some of my first reflections immediately take me back to football coaches or military leaders and historical figures. And my first thought took me to, of all people, Eleanor Roosevelt. And Eleanor Roosevelt once said, small minds will always talk about people and they'll just gossip. Better minds, medium minds, will talk about events. But the greatest minds will talk about ideas. And I got to thinking, what's my idea that I share? And I started, diving into Eleanor Roosevelt. And I remember another instructor broke down the people, events, and ideas to people, tactics, and principles. And I got to thinking, what's my principle to share? If I may be so bold, as a retired police officer, I reflect on my career. And I remember going to whatever class it might be. Maybe it was a SWAT class. And I'd listen to a SWAT instructor teach tactics. And I would think, what's their experience? What's their reference? What's their time? And I got to admit, there were times I thought, this is a tactical operator that's been out of the business for maybe 15 years. And I got to thinking, that's a tough class to teach. That's a tough challenge to teach. And within just a blink of an eye, a career goes by and a retirement's upon you. And now all of a sudden you're thinking, I'm the instructor, and how do I teach tactics? And I'll be so forward to say that as a tactical instructor, with the environment of law enforcement, the environment of fire and rescue and paramedic, there are tactics that are going to change literally by the hour in today's culture. And I couldn't sit here today as part of this Elevate program and say, I want to teach you tactics. So if I may, I'm going to resort back to being a high school football coach, and I'm going to pull up my never go anywhere without a dry erase board or a chalkboard. And what we're going to do is, again, we're going to review the people, the tactics, and the principles. I very much am confident in saying there's some tactics that I still feel comfortable teaching, but we're not going to spend some time on those today. As Eleanor Roosevelt says, we're not going to gossip here today and talk about people. We're going to concentrate on our principles and our ideas, and take you down a path to understand a principle, something that allowed me to be very successful as a law enforcement officer. I retired as the rank of chief. I was a detective. I was on bike patrol, marine patrol. I was a school resource officer. I was a member of our honor guard. And all throughout those career in every different position, new challenges faced me. Some of those challenges were quite difficult and quite emotional. Some of those challenges were very routine and very typical of the profession. And I was able to navigate through those things. But as part of the Elevate Our Everyday Heroes program, I thought, what's the one principal thing that I can teach in a very quick moment? What's the one thing I could share that you take with you, and maybe 2 days or 20 years from now, you remember the principle? If there's anything that I can do, it's to teach the principle, to share an idea. So as I started to vision this, I thought, the human mind, we understand when we see things that most people, they see at a 90-degree angle. And at our academy, we're taught to open up our vision and open up our tunnel vision and widen that. And most people can get to 180-degree vision. And 180-degree vision is very effective. But if you want to be most effective and you want to meet greater challenge, what you want to do is you want to find yourself into that 270-degree vision. And ideally, the principle would be to achieve a true 360-degree perspective of all things. So getting away from talking about vision and degree angles, I want to stay with this principle of vision. And one of the things that I learned to use was a chart that I call the high acceptance or high vision. And we as law enforcement officers, we want to always have high vision and high acceptance. Vision and acceptance are one word. You could insert training, you could insert education in here. But the high acceptance, high vision, it's the world we operate in as law enforcement and first responders and medical personnel. We are under great demands all of the time. But part of this principle I want to teach is we also have high challenge and high demands of our career. The challenge that faces us many times is out of control. Some of you might now be thinking the world's out of control. Really what it is, the world's on a high challenge. And we have a cadre of officers and firefighters and medics that are the highest trained. We're able to meet this challenge. But as we talk about high vision, high acceptance, high challenge, we also got to remember there's the opposite of that, the 360-degree angle. We got to remember there's low challenge and there's low access. And if I can kind of walk us through and where we're going to go with this, when you meet yourself with high access and high vision of your training and your responsibility as a first responder, and you meet that high challenge, you're going to be empowered. This is where we're very successful. These are where we're doing risky things with excellence, and we're right there feeling good and feeling empowered. But we got to keep in mind, sometimes the challenge isn't that great. The challenge isn't as difficult as the times we have. And that's when our first responder jobs, we found a comfort. We enjoyed it. It was the routine of the day. But you got to remember, if you have high vision and high expectation of yourself, or high training, high principle, if you let that drop, and you let that drop with that low challenge, you end up over here where you're complacent with low access and low challenge. Now remember, challenge isn't up to us. Challenge is up to the demands of the public upon us. So the challenge might go low, but our choice is to go high. And if we stay high, we stay in this comfort mode of our job, no matter what the demand might be. Remember, we're always going to avoid this corner right here, always. We never want to fall into complacency. That demand that the general public, the citizens, the world puts on us, that pulls really hard. And it is pulling really hard. And unfortunately, some officers, some first responders, other personnel, maybe their training wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. Maybe they didn't work as hard as we should have had demanded of them. And what we did is that challenge fell into a stress mode. And as it pulled harder to that greater challenge, and we allowed that pull on low vision on ourselves, we may have even created chaos. And the thing about this chart that I think helps, in a principle that I hope to continue to share, is that it can apply to everything. In officer wellness, in first responder care, in healthy lifestyle, you can use this chart. You can use this vision. And this really, in most every challenge I've ever had, I've put this chart up in my mind. Whether it's the engagement of an officer in a high-risk call, whether it's a family emergency, maybe it's a death in the community. You can put any kind of challenge in here. There's individual challenge and community challenge. And I will say about the individual challenges, there's times we've had individual challenge. As a chief, yes, I often got to have staff help me with things. I got to go to Chamber of Commerce and ribbon cuttings and see those happy times. But as a chief, there were times that challenge pulled hard and it pulled difficult. In the spring of 2018, I had that challenge pull really hard, really difficult. On a spring morning, I received a telephone call saying that one of our officers had shot himself. And immediately my vision went to 90 degrees. And I thought, how did he shoot himself? This is a high producing, high vision officer under high challenge. I'm thinking, how did he shoot himself? And my mind wanted to fill in. It must have been an accident. He must have been exhausted after working a shift and accidentally. And then the information starts pouring in and I get to 180 vision into 270 vision. And then I discover this was a completed suicide by an officer in my charge. I'll tell you, that was a negative pull. That was a hard pull on challenge. And I really had to reach deep and pull my own challenge up so that I could bring myself into this empowered place. Because if I fell into chaos, I fell into misery and absorbed myself in sorrow with the other officers I worked for, I'd pull myself down into this low challenge, low vision area where I'm of no use to anybody. There are difficult things that we will do. But as my mother and father always taught me, that's when things are good. It's not, my father once told me, the ships are out at a stormy sea, and it's not the water outside the ship that sinks it. It's the water that gets inside the ship. And I remember him saying, son, don't ever let the water get inside the ship. And my mother would always use the term, it's grit, and rub a little dirt on it. Well, we rubbed some dirt on it, but the dirt's not the physical dirt, it's the metaphorical dirt of taking care of myself, taking care of the officers. And again, there's a span that we look at to keep us in that high vision, high challenge quadrant. And those key pieces would be make sure that we have a mental toughness. We know we need to be mentally tough, but sometimes it's a difficult one to figure out, how do I train to be mentally tough? And we resort on other instructors, other officers, other trainers. Those individuals have the name of Graham and Westfall and Gilmartin and Willis. There are many instructors. Go find them. Don't be your only trainer, your only instructor. Go find it and put yourself into this high vision to meet a high challenge category. There is social support. We've got to make sure that we stay in this high expectation, high challenge social grouping. As my mom once said, you are who you hang around with. Be careful who we hang around with, because that'll pull us down into this low category. As a law enforcement officer, as a firefighter, as a medic, keep in mind that your social support needs to be a multiple leg table. You can't just always hang out with cops. You can't always spend your time with other medics on your days off. Put more legs in your table of support. Have a different group of friends. Have a group of friends that are your spouse's friends. Have people that oppose your own visions, the 360 degrees. Find people that are different to you and glean from them. Don't put yourself into that social support going this direction. Put it going high expectation, high value, high vision to meet high challenges. Because in the end, that social support is what saves us. In today's crises, people will want to watch a 2-inch video on their phone and think the country doesn't like cops right now. I think I'm going to disagree with it and say that's what you want to see on 2 inches of a phone. The public wants to support us. They want to love us. They want us to be their peacemakers, their caretakers. They want us to be their cops. They're your social support. Never lose that leg of the social support group. At some point, and you'll hear me say it from time to time and allude to things, there's got to be a spirituality in your high vision meeting high challenge expectation. Don't ever mistake my words by saying you have to select a religion or a denomination or attend in a building. You have to have a high level of spirituality. You got to believe in something. Whatever your God you may choose, have that God be kind. Have that God meet great challenge. Have that God deliver to you great vision for other people, and you will be okay. You will persevere. As a chief, I had the opportunity to travel the world with the Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torture Program. I have met officers from literally dozens of countries, continents, religions. Officers with a great spiritual balance are very successful in meeting high expectation, having high vision, and tackling great challenge. I'd also say if you don't have a sense of fun and humor as a first responder, then there's a challenge. If you lack a sense of humor and a lack of fun, you're automatically down here. Don't just resort to the, yep, we all have gallows humor. We do, we have gallows humor, but make sure you harness that and pull that forward. Because gallows humor isn't always healthy. But find ways to have fun, to have humor, whether that be music, a comedian, friends, television shows. You gotta get yourself harnessed on your fun and humor and pull it to a high expectation. And that will help you meet challenge. Having a sense of fun in this job is so very important. When your principle of safety in this job, you can also have the principle of fun in this job. Don't ever lose the principle of safety, but make this job fun. Because after 33 plus years of public service, I'm here to tell you there are great challenges on each and every one of you, some of which I can't fully understand. I'll try to understand, but I think the principle for me is this job was a lot of fun. Even in my darkest moments, even in the toughest times, this job was fun. It brought me joy. And so maybe the word I substitute in this is joy. But this job brings me great fun and great things. One of the things that first responders are learning to concentrate on that maybe 10, 15, maybe even 5 years ago, this word wasn't always talked about. Mindfulness, that understanding. Today I won't spend a lot of time talking about mindfulness, but really what I want you to take away from this principle and this vision is the mind is very powerful and it has to match the power of your body. If you train your body to be strong and you train your weapons to be precise and you train your tools to be very exacting, but you don't match it with the mind strength, it's very difficult. You got to connect the mindfulness of your body, your tactics have got to be matched to your mind's principles. So that is very important. One of the things that I'll resort back to this chart on of taking good care of yourself, you got to put yourself in physical fitness, top physical fitness. Now don't immediately say, I know exactly what the high challenge is because I only do powerlifting, or I have a high challenge because I am an ultra marathoner, or I don't have anything because I don't care to run. Find what physical fitness works for you. Find what physical fitness is supported in a 360-degree career as a law enforcement officer. Because I will say, from 30 plus years of experience, if you isolate yourself to one physical fitness activity, it may not sustain for 30 years of career. I was not the physical elite that I thought I was at 22 as a cop, as I was at 52 as a cop. But what I was is I was physically fit, and I found something that brought me the great principle to meet high challenge and to meet high expectation, high vision of myself. Be physically fit. Find something that makes you physically fit. And in closing, keep in mind, we never want to isolate ourselves. So find yourself taking this chart, putting this to use, and thinking, I'm going to work in this high access, high challenge. Because on this chart, I put in here the initials VSD. This valley, the V stands for valley. Remember, this is low challenge, high expectation. That's walking a valley. That's the comfort of our job. That might be our job 300 days a year. It might be our job in current environment, not very often. But that's the valley. It's okay to be in the valley. But we really want to be over here where we're rising up. But the S and the D, once we step out of that valley, we step into the shadow of the death. And we want to stay away from that. So choose the high road. Challenge yourself to meet the demanding expectations of this career. Meet it with great vision, with great discipline, with great fun, and great spirit. Because if there's something you take away from what Pat Calley shared with you today, this is the greatest job in all the world. This job will make you cry. This job will make you see dark times, but this job will bring great joy and great valor to your life. And as I close, for those of you that care to read, find something in Isaiah 58 where it says, "And God will be your greatest rear guard." I wish you the very best. Thank you for sharing with me today. And may God bless the United States of America, and may God bless our first responders as we elevate our everyday heroes.